Lieutenant Colonel Francona, let me start with you. Once the U.S. baton arrives in the region, as Barbara was just reporting, you're going to have another 1,000 Marines, 2,000 total then in the region. What do you make of this?
It looks like it's a contingency force should the president decide he needs to do more than just airstrikes. This is a lot of firepower. That's a big ship. It's got a lot of aircraft on it. It's got a lot of Marines on it. It can be used to put forces into Baghdad, into any part of Iraq they want to, amphibiously. It's an upgrading capability. You wonder, why does he think we need this capability? And as we've talked about before, this almost looks like mission creep again.
It certainly sounds that way, Colonel McGregor. I mean, the administration insists it isn't. They're just making sure that they have the assets in the right place should they need them. Do you buy that?
Well, there are two possibilities here, Aaron. One is that we're going to put a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. This disaster we created when we intervened and occupied the place and installed Mr. Maliki and his government. That's one possibility. The other possibility is this is the leading edge of a creeping strategy designed to essentially enlarge our engagement, to bring in more forces. It's not clear right now. Now, one thing we need to keep in mind is Marine infantry in that part of the world is very much at risk. They're not going to be able to do much more than evacuate Americans. If you begin to see armor show up, that's a much more serious issue.
Lieutenant Colonel, I mean, do you think, which of those scenarios makes the most sense to you? Because, I mean, this is a president who said he wanted to get out of this war. He got out of this war.
Well,
the sort of wanting to get back in for broader influence in the region doesn't really seem to fit with his policy thus far.
I think what we're seeing is him putting a contingency force in place maybe to evacuate Americans out of there. As the Colonel says, this is not a heavy enough force to engage these guys on the ground in a meaningful way. With a lot of air power, they can make a dent, but they're not going to be able to go in there and actually take territory from ISIS with that length of people. You need the Iraqi army to stand up and go back out into the field, which I don't see happening. They've ceded the entire west of the country to ISIS.
Well, let me ask you, I'm curious, Colonel McGregor, in terms of this whole issue of who the U.S. is fighting for, right? I mean, you have the Prime Minister of Iraq, Noor al-Maliki, giving an interview with the BBC in which he criticized the Obama administration for not providing U.S. jets. So I just wanted to quote him. He said, "I'll be frank and say we were deluded when we signed the contract with the United States." Obviously, he's returning to for fighter jets. "If we had air cover, we could have prevented what happened in this country. So today I can tell you we've bought secondhand jet fighters from Russia." So now you have them buying fighters from Russia. You have Bashar al-Assad's regime helping al-Maliki bomb ISIS targets, and you have Iranian drones helping provide them intelligence. And then we're also helping the same side.
Well, Aaron, you've just asked the $60 million question. And listen, that's an important question that Americans should be asking the government right now. Last year, remember, Mr. Obama wanted to bomb the Syrian government and army. He wanted to bomb them on behalf of the Sunni Islamists backed by the Saudis, Turks, and Emirates that were fighting to overthrow Mr. Assad. Today, he wants to align with Iran, which is also backed by Russia, and he wants to bomb the same people that last year he said he wanted to protect. There is no coherence to this. This is not strategy. The flip-flop is beyond belief.
In a sense, Colonel Francona, you could say it's not necessarily a flip-flop. This is the complexity of the region right now. Even the regional players are today on the side of one guy and tomorrow on the side of the guy they were against yesterday.
Everybody's acting in what they believe to be their own interests, and these are changing interests. And as the situation changes, they react quickly, and they move their forces to be there. Now, you've got the Syrian Air Force bombing in western Iraq. You've got the Iranians moving intelligence ground units into Baghdad. They're flying their drones over there, and now we're going to have these second-hand Russian aircraft in the area.